Well, good morning. I'm afraid my Russian is not as good as it should be to make a presentation here today in Russian, but if you can choose between English and Estonian, I think I'm gonna go for English today. I've been in the Ministry of Economic Affairs of Estonia dealing with all kind of enterprise support issues in Estonia for past 9 years. So if something in next slides is very wrong, it's partly directly my fault as well. Well, I have 15 slides and 20 minutes, and the organizers asked actually to cover so many topics, which would mean about 2 hours, but let's see how it goes in 20 minutes. So 3 main parts. Firstly, a few words about Estonia and then our enterprise policy, then a few words about Startup Estonia, and then e-governments and this, how it all comes together and what you think about it. So, still in the same place on a map. As usual, about 8 times smaller population than in Belarus. It's 1.3 million, and exports due to they are so small is up to 85% of GDP, which actually reflects quite a lot how international the business has to be successful in Estonian case. From 2004, member of EU, 2009 OECD and NATO, 2011 Eurozone, and the ratings have been quite stable past, I don't know, 5-7 years. So, what we have done in enterprise policy in Estonia. The first systematic policy we launched about 10 years ago when we started to join the EU, and we had to have some kind of strategic approach what we're going to do to develop our domestic companies. So it was already mentioned about the foreign direct investments. Actually, most of post-Soviet Estonian economy is built up with foreign investments. So in our case, it has worked quite well. In 2004-2006, it was mainly about infrastructure, to actually renovate, build new buildings for production and services also, and so it was also basic training of staff to actually reorientate to more towards Western market now. In 2007-2013, mostly what was inside the buildings. So machinery, equipment, all these basic logistic systems to produce and sell. And now, from now on, of course, as every country, we're trying to focus on what creates the value added most and how to sell your products and services for the highest price possible. So about all this innovation we are talking here today about, and business models, and also the new managerial skills needed are also in our focus. As you can see from the left side of the slide, you can focus everywhere. Much of the harder question is how to do it actually. So you can't actually say to your private sector or even to government that well, new business is not the case, or export is not the case. So the question is how to actually get the most out of it with a restricted budget. And the first thing, I'm going to say a few words about the next slides about the other ones, but the ecosystem is something that is actually behind where we are today. We also have very many issues to develop, but actually the overall entrepreneurial culture and government's feelings towards private sector and vice versa. Okay, vice versa is tricky always, but still is something which is the basis of where you can create support measures and instruments. Well, when we used to have in 2007 to 2013 a wide range of different grants to companies, if you had problems with trainings, you had a training grant, consulting grant, R&D grant, export grant, so it was quite a mess for companies and for ourselves as well. Well, it worked in most of the cases to a certain amount of result, but still the system could have been much easier and more focused. So from now on we have these we have several grants still, but for individual companies we have actually combined all the previous grants together to make this, let's say, growth companies strategic development program. So the main part is actually the two first ones on the left side. At first, when Enterprise Estonia, which is a government agency for what kind of activities, whether it finds a growth company or high potential growth company from economy, or a company finds Enterprise Estonia, there's going to be a preliminary diagnostics how the company is doing, what are their main goals, what is their main history, and then there's going to be specific diagnostics, trainings, counseling to actually become to a longer term strategic view. It's in our case the problem also that companies are not looking ahead very far ahead. So it's mainly the export is sometimes well, it happened in some cases and so on, but actually the longer term strategic approach is something we are trying to go much more now. And as always, there has to be certain results also. If you get to a phase when you get a grant up to 500,000 euros, so you have to annually show at least 10% better results than your sector average. So that's the logic behind most of the support systems we have now. Just some guarantees which I'm sure most of the countries have had for years, for starting, for bank guarantees, for loans, and then also we give out our loans our own to actually cover the part when your own collateral is not enough, or you have to get an extra loan in a subordinated way to actually get the final loan from, let's say, from bank. And to exporters also to compete with both in Western and Eastern markets to actually give buyers more favorable paying conditions. There has to be sometimes the export, let's say, export loans for 2 years, 3 years, which means also credit insurance in case of getting that kind of long-term loan to actually, let's say, diminish the risks of which can be political credit risks, just ordinary business risks. So this is what we have done mostly for past, I don't know, 7-10 years, definitely. It's renewing a bit, but the basis of the system are same. What we have done in previous 3 years, and actually currently doing, our fund of funds. The first one, the Baltic Innovation Fund, is something we did together with Latvians and Lithuanians like 2-3 years ago. And this is based on the European Investment Fund. All the 3 countries put in 20 million euros, plus EIF put in 40 million euros, altogether 100. Plus we had a goal to actually get another 100 from private sector investors. We ended up getting 160 million. So altogether it's on the Baltic market currently it's mostly for growth, and but also a bit about the early phase is up to 260 million euros via fund of fund system. And the other one is this EST one we are launching currently. Actually, during this year we've been in negotiations with European Investment Fund and Estonian ministries, especially ours, Ministry of Economics and also Ministry of Finance, to actually launch this early and seed state phase fund of funds, which would have probably 3 sub-funds. And we are just going to go to to find fund managers. So the logic is quite simple, as in these fund of funds cases always. When we used to have the state has like 15-20 companies in portfolio where we have directly invested into startup companies and also growth companies. Now the system is changing towards these fund of funds because when the fund managers are going to be totally private managers, so the state is not in most of the cases the best fund managers itself, so a private sector manager should actually get it more market-based. So that's about financial instruments. I'm not going to go through all the points here, but the exports, which was also mentioned, that since we are so small country, we mainly rely on export, and we have like 10 representatives, mostly in Europe and also in Silicon Valley, Shanghai, New Delhi, and Tokyo, who are helping Estonian exporters getting contacts, organizing trade affairs, missions, and all these traditional export promotion activities. So, going to the next part, about this Startup Estonia, which has been, in quite many countries already. I have a question that why do you in Estonia have the highest rate of startups per capita? Well, that's one thing to have a small population. It's easy to get good numbers per capita. But actually, that's not the only thing. Well, I'm not going to go through the whole startup ecosystem. I just have 1 or 2 slides about it. As you probably know, Skype is an Estonian-based, but well, definitely not anymore a startup, but still worldwide known success story. And Skype's development center is still in Estonia. So we had a strong role model to actually, this is possible to actually grow something that big from that small country as Estonia. Since we have a small market, there's no point of orientating in internal market. Although out of our 60,000 companies, only 1/4 of them are exporting. So it's not very well balanced at all. It could be much better, but still, if you want to grow, you have to think big from day one. And starting a business is easy and is as it is in most of the countries in the region. And political leadership is something which I would consider quite important towards the e-governance ecosystem. Estonia using Estonia as a test bed for new solutions and so on. So about this fund of funds and venture capital, it's all based on the logic that you, if your market is so young as it is in Estonia, you have to help some kind of with initial capital when you want startups, because the risk is too high for private sector since market is so young. So also the ecosystem and dialogue with startups, and actually it doesn't go with startups only, but actually through the whole enterprise life cycle. So in our case, we learned how to be flexible. In startup case, we don't have that strict maybe measurement system as we have in our enterprise support schemes, and so the whole incubators, accelerators, and so on, hackathons, it's been going on in Estonia for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and it's becoming more and more popular, so the supporting environment has been the key. About this third part, this e-governance. Well, everywhere Estonians go to make presentations, there are going to be questions about Estonian ICT. So I thought that I'm going to say a few words about it before questions. And well, this e-annual report is something really simple, and I believe many countries have launched it by today. But in 2010, it wasn't that new, wasn't that widely used at all. So the companies have pre-filled applications, and they only have to actually check their in and sign their annual report, and it's really directly reduced administrative burden. So. What happened next? Okay, you had this annual e-report, but then something else also happened. So actually the annual report wasn't the first one, but it was maybe the clearest example. By today we have this digital society we call, and these e-governments is something we are actually trying to introduce worldwide, at least in some pieces. And the first countries in the world, together Estonians and Finns, have launched their X-Road system, but where authorities from both countries can actually access to another country's databases in case of business registers. Yes, by today, most of, let's say, business to government and vice versa communications are based on internet. So about this e-residency, it's something, another thing, wherever we go, people are going to ask, what are you doing there? I've heard that you have some kind of e-residency system. Is something, is it really a serious thing, or is it a hype, or what is it? So last year, yes, it wasn't 2 years ago, last year I guess we launched with e-residency. Which basically means that you can get the Estonian ID card and basically all the same services Estonian physical residents can actually have. But you don't have to live in Estonia, you now don't even have to visit very many times Estonia, so you can do it from abroad and lead your business via internet, let's say, from Estonia. So what the e-residents can do is actually they can lose most of the hassling with your foreign partners when you have company owners from different countries. You can sign all things in internet. You can actually administrate your local well, Estonian-based taxes to clear via this e-resident system, and you can e-banking and so on. So it's something we are currently introducing also already in Asia, and let's say Japanese Prime Minister already is an Estonian e-resident, and we are introducing the system in Singapore and so on. So it's something that can be literally useful for both government and businesses. So it was a very short overview. To wrap it up, actually, I would say, this is the last slide. The conclusions from our case is number one is the environment. How do companies actually feel themselves or yourselves in the current business environment? Of course, we have also cases where the company says it's still too much red tape, or it's still some things could be quicker and easier and so on, but the overall attitude is very open and in both sides, from public and private. This dialogue with private sector is something, when you're a small country, that's actually the only way you can do it. You can't do everything your own, even if you wanted to. So in our case, it's a win-win situation. We don't have enough public sector to actually decide everything their own, so it's dialogue and using the knowledge and suggestions of private sector is something very, very logic. Yes, with goals and targets, when I sometimes see in maybe much farther countries, but yes, there are enterprise support measures, but if things doesn't happen afterwards, nothing happens. So to actually set goals for your own support schemes and enterprise policy, as well as to concrete companies which you are supporting by your instruments. Yes, and okay, the arrow is not in the right place, but okay, the 8th one you can't see. Sorry, it's mixing the slides, but this actually the government should act as a role model. So it's, of course, the business environment is always one step ahead by its innovation and so on, but actually in our case, all these, let's say this sharing economies example, Uber is currently working together with Estonian tax authorities to make the first system to actually how the Uber system can be declared in the sense of taxes, which we can actually hopefully export to other countries as well who are worried about how Uber is going to change their market and tax system and so on. So the government can actually do quite a lot in the sense of how business are feeling themselves and whether they are more courage or not so much. So that was running through what we have done, so thank you.
Спасибо большое. Перед, может быть, не уходите пока со сцены. Коллеги, есть ли вопросы к Перед, потому что она не будет участвовать в панельной дискуссии. Вы можете задать ей свои вопросы прямо сейчас. Пожалуйста, подходите к микрофону, если есть вопросы.
Well, I'm afraid I can't say numbers by head, but I can check it out. But actually, in case of a very small country, we have like Estonian state debt or government debt is the lowest in EU and one of the lowest in the world actually also. So the governance, yes, it's if it comes to R&D expenditures and so on, so yes, the rate is higher than we would like to see, but actually in overall economy it's quite low.
Пожалуйста, еще вопрос.
Меня слышно?
Да.
Добрый день. Меня зовут Вячеслав Пилипук. Республиканское общественное объединение «Перспектива». Представление интересов малого и среднего бизнеса. У нас, соответственно, такой вопрос. Значит, скажите, пожалуйста, какова ваша личная ответственность как чиновника за неправильно принятые решения для малого и среднего бизнеса? И, пользуясь случаем, хочу вам передать нашу программу развития малого предпринимательства от «Перспективы».
Okay, thank you. Well, that's something I haven't been asked for a few years. For 7 years we had the same minister. During past 2 years we had 3 different ministers. So it's been quite based on officials how we are doing. So your question is very right actually. Some of my main colleagues have remained also for like 5 years or something, but were also quite shorter period, like 1 or 2 years. So if Something indirectly in support measures doesn't work, and the business sector says that this is not working, you're doing the wrong decisions, that's not okay, or there isn't a market failure when you're trying to give, let's say, consulting service from government, there is consulting market, don't do that your own. When the officials are gonna have definitely very hard questions to be answered inside the ministry and in front of the public sector. So it actually goes affect, it's going to affect also by the, let's say, upper levels of the ministry. So if something like that repeats, I probably won't work very long. So, so far, yes, you can't directly evaluate the macroeconomic effect, but something as midterm evaluations of enterprise support measures, whether the companies who have used our measures have been developing better than the others, is something we do on every other years. If that should show that no difference whether there are some support measures or not, so it probably won't be a very long party in the ministry.
Коллеги, есть ли еще вопросы? Спасибо большое. Мы продолжаем наш форум. Спасибо, Пирит. Огромное.